I hope you're all doing well, and a happy new year to you. I hope that 2023 will be an excellent year for you all and that you all have peace and prosperity. So this video is going to be discussing some of the games that I was able to complete and beat this year from my backlog. As some of you may know, at the beginning of the year I usually give a list of games that I'd like to beat that year and take them off my backlog, and then at the end of the year I usually go through those games and discuss what I've completed. This has been a very fascinating year. In years past, you know, there might be one or two games I don't complete for one reason or another, but this year was a little bit unusual in the fact that we had quite a number of disturbances that really prevented me from completing most of my games. Off of my list of 20, I completed 13, which is crazy. However, I completed more than 13 games this year. I actually completed 41 games. And you'll see in a minute what most of these types of titles and what they were on, and you'll understand. But had I known some of the things that were going to be happening this year, I probably would have picked very different games for this list. However, since I didn't have that knowledge, I picked games that may not have been the best. But anyways, let's get on with the list and the story. So I started out January of 2022 playing Persona 5 Royal Edition. Absolutely a masterpiece. That game is wonderful. I did not beat it yet, but it is... What? What is your problem? You want to say something? It is a wonderful game. Absolutely wonderful. And it's 100% up my alley. Everybody for years who have been telling me to play this were right. It's a fantastic game. But what I didn't know was that I would be moving. So and I think some of this was talked about in an update video that I posted in June or something like that. What? Tell you. Anyway, so we moved, and so in the middle of January we had some issues at our previous place, and we had to kind of get out of Dodge there. And so right when I found this out, I immediately had to start packing, and the main reason is because I have young kids, and anybody who's moved with young kids 100% understands the amount of stuff that you have, the just the minimalist amount of time that you have, right? Being a parent, especially when they're young, you know, under 2 years, and you know, they suck up all your time, and there's just not a lot of packing time. And when there is, it's often the kids are in bed sleeping, and that eats into my gaming time. So obviously gaming was very, very, very minimal at best. And to play an RPG that's over 160 hours long, especially at my pace, because I get distracted so easily in them. What on earth are you doing? Come here. Nice kitty. You're a good kitty. Anyways, where was I? Right, so because it was a massive RPG, obviously I couldn't give it the time that I wanted. And so we began packing in January, the first 2 weeks of February, and then we moved right in the middle of February. And we moved into the house we're in now, and actually I'm right now filming in my media sort of center room. This is where we have the TV and the kids' toys, the kids' room. And so we moved here into this house, and you know, moving was a week-long thing. It took 5 weeks to unpack everything, and on top of that, just to kind of get things even set up, like this room for example was not important. This was not the first thing set up, even though I would have loved to have set up the games first. That wasn't it. It was, you know, my computers for my work, right, to teach and do my thesis and all of that stuff, and get the kitchen ready, the kids' rooms, and so on. So there was a lot of other precedents before games, unfortunately. And so I didn't play much at all during that time. And if I did play anything, they were often handheld titles. For an obvious reason, right? When you're packing up your collection and your games and systems, you know, what's the ones that are the easiest to move around? Well, these are things like, you know, the DS or the Switch. So I actually completed my DS and Switch games first because that's what I had available for the most part. And on top of that, you know, even then the amount of time I had available to play was not as much as I would have liked. So we didn't get all of this set up and going down here until about the middle of April, going into May. And so that really limited how much time, right, I could play. Because right there, what, you've got 4 months, poof, like that. And I had some games on my list that were quite lengthy. You know, some of them were 60, 70 hours. And, you know, for someone like myself who has 2 jobs, a PhD and a father and all that, this type of time that I have is limited. So losing that amount of time was quite significant. And so the other thing, of course, that happened later on, as some of you also know from the update videos, was that my wife got sick and I had to take some time off from work and things. And that led to me being more of a caregiver role. And so that was even less time to play games, right? There was more time, but, you know, in general, you know, I wasn't working. But I definitely, with running to appointments and hospital visits and all of that stuff, and taking care of the kids and being there for my wife to support her, really took its toll. And so, again, that was something that also kind of interfered with gaming. Although certain games that I played during that time definitely helped me through, and I'll get to those. So the first couple of games that I played right off the bat, of course, were things like New Yoshi's Island for the 3DS. What a fantastic title. You know, this game, I remember playing some variation of it on the Game Boy Advance. Long time ago. I don't even know what happened to my Game Boy Advance cartridge for it, but so this is a game that was so nostalgic. I absolutely loved it. It's a game that, if you like Yoshi, you like simple platformers, I mean, it's just a 10 out of 10 fun for me. And so I absolutely adored this game, and definitely say anybody who's interested in that kind of stuff should play it. So obviously the games that I played first, for the most part, were games that were on the Switch. And so I went through, way before Halloween, went through Luigi's Mansion 3. I mean, this is a masterclass of a Luigi game. You know, the first 2 games I beat, I think last year, the year before, something like that. What a fantastic game. I mean, if you have a Switch, you owe it to yourself to at least pick this up and play through it. The graphics are stunning. The mechanics are great. The fluidness of the game is fantastic. I absolutely love this game. And it was a lot of fun. And it was kind of interesting because when I was moving, I was playing this. So, you know, going to these like hotels and different rooms and things, it was very fun. And kind of fit the theme quite well of what I was doing. So another great game to play. A game that once I had settled in and moved in, that I absolutely think I needed to have played earlier on when it first came out, of course, was Super Mario Odyssey. You know, I'm a big fan of Mario 64. I talk a lot about it. It's one of my favorite games. This game surpassed Mario 64, I think. It was so much fun. There was so much nostalgia. Moving from 3D to 2D Mario, and the seamlessness and the level designs and the worlds, and The story even was absolutely incredible, and I absolutely loved it. And I really think, again, another banger title on the Switch, and you owe it to yourself. If you got a Switch for Christmas, you owe it to yourself to get this and play it. It is an absolute must-own, must-play game, and it has a high recommendation from me. Another game that I played on the Switch and enjoyed quite a bit was the Yoshi's Crafted World. Now, I've heard about the Woolly World and all that, and that was on, I think, the Wii U or something like that. And I know Kirby has a yarn one as well. And I thought, I don't know if I'm up to all this crafted kind of stuff. Kind of like Little Big Planet type thing. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. But I do like Yoshi games. I always have. And I thought, well, let's give it a try. And I was pleasantly surprised. It was quite good. Good platforming, good graphics. Again, fun. And that's the theme that I was seeing a lot with some of these games, was it's just absolute fun. And this was a joy to play, a lot of fun. I mean, if you like platformers, you like Yoshi games, you'll love this game as well. And I personally really enjoyed it. It was a really enjoyable game and experience. Another game that I played, that I'm trying to play a lot of the games in the series for this, is Kirby games. And I absolutely love the Kirby games. It was last year was the first time I ever played a couple of the Kirby games, the older ones on the SNES, and I think the original one that was on the Game Boy or something like that. But anyways, absolutely lovely games. I absolutely love them to death. And so I picked up some time ago, with intentions to play it, the Kirby Star Allies, and I thought, I gotta give this a try. I enjoy the Kirby games so much. Let's try a really, more updated one. And absolutely loved it again. Another great title. I really enjoyed it. I do think, though, this game, you have to be a really, really big Kirby fan, I think, and enjoy the Kirby mechanics. But I loved it. If you love Kirby, you love all the mechanics, you love all that kind of Kirby craziness, this is a game for you. And classic platforming, all that stuff. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. A lot of great platformers, essentially, what I was playing here on most of the handheld devices. But a great game. And these are one of the first ones I got through because of the fact that I moved and all that. So, fantastic games. Some other games that I played this year were things like Ratchet and Clank. Now, I have dabbled a little bit with Ratchet and Clank back in, I think it was the PlayStation 3 days, at my friend's house, my buddy's house, who had all the PlayStations. I never owned a PlayStation up until the PlayStation 4, and that was when I was in university. So, but up until that point, I went to his place to play most of the Sony titles, and I remember him playing Ratchet and Clank a few times, and I recognized, and I really wanted to play this, re-release from it, of the original. And fantastic game. Love the humor, love the graphics. It was not a long game. It's not a complicated game to beat. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I love the story. I love the worlds. I mean, it was just really fun. And another platformer, but absolutely wonderful. Really great game. Another platformer, but this time a platformer that I played with my daughters with, and my wife, was SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. So this is that re-release of the, was it a 360 game? Something like that. And absolutely adorable. The only caveat is that you have to like SpongeBob games. If you're not a SpongeBob fan, you are not going to like this game, and it might get on your nerves. Platforming's a little hit or miss at times. There were a few frustrating moments with hit detection or things like that. But all in all, I mean, it was a pretty fun game for, based on SpongeBob. So, you have to play Patrick, SpongeBob, or Sandy. Each have different moves and specialties and things. So, personally, a lot of fun for me. And my kids just absolutely loved it. They love SpongeBob. So, another game that I was super happy to play, and I'm going to do, I think, a retrospective of it, would be the Shenmue 2. So I played Shenmue 1 last year, I believe, or the year before, something like that. And the first game was life-changing. I really liked it. It had such a air of nostalgia. I never played Shenmue growing up. I didn't have a Dreamcast, and I obviously had an Xbox. It did go on Xbox as well, but I didn't have that. So I played it for the first time as an adult, and Rio is just absolutely fantastic. The whole story, the plot. I love the first game. There's obviously some mechanics in there, like quick time events, that got a little annoying. There's certain things that, yes, that are outdated. But all in all, was pretty fun. So I went in looking really forward to this second game. And I found it a little tedious. Strangely enough. The same game core mechanics. There were some improvements, definitely, that they added on, especially with the battle mechanics and fighting style in the second one. But it felt like the same thing, just different places, right? You're in Shanghai. I don't know. It just, in Londi, we're going after Londi near the end there, right? And I don't know. It just, I didn't feel like I was getting very far or anywhere. A lot of the stuff I'm like, I feel like I've done this before. This is getting pointless. Why are we doing stupid job things again? Right? Like, I understood it. They weren't as well implemented, perhaps, as they were maybe in the first game. I don't know. But it just felt tired a little bit, and I was upset with it. Although I liked the story. That was funny about it. I liked the story. I do like the fighting. I really enjoyed doing all the kung fu, learning the different masters, like the Tai Chi and so on. That was really fun. And that was like, what, in the first phase of the game or something, where you did that. I enjoyed that part, but then it got tedious. But all in all, it wasn't too bad. But I do think I might do a retrospective on it. Another game that I completed to finish off a very difficult series was the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy. And I have to say, number 3, which is what I was on my list this year, still brutal. It was still a brutal game. It took a lot of practice, a lot of swearing, a lot of cursing, but I had a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge. At times, I felt it wasn't necessarily unfair, but I thought, it's a little cheap, right? Certain times when things would happen. But all in all, pretty decent game. I was pretty happy. It was fun. You know, my girls like to watch me play it once in a while and laugh at me as I swear at the TV. Another game that I absolutely loved, as did my daughter Aurora, was playing the Spyro 2 from the Reignited trilogy. Now, I played this in the summer, in I think August or July or something like that, and it was very, very fun. Loved it. I totally enjoyed the game. It was a thrill to play. I enjoyed it so much so, and had such a hankering, I guess, and part of that I think was my daughter, who was so excited and wanted to play more of the Spyro. I went right into playing the Year of the Dragon, right, the third Spyro, the third one, and it was really, really another great enjoyable game. If you have a PlayStation 4 or 5 and you love the Spyro games or just want to get reacquainted or play it for the first time, awesome games. And for me, what a nostalgia trip from playing all those years ago on the PlayStation 1 and 2. Really great games. Thoroughly enjoyed my time playing them, and glad to have finished it. This game I had gotten for Christmas last year, and I wanted to play it because my wife got it for me, and I wanted to at least play one of the levels, or one of the games, and it's got 2 games on the disc, and that was the Harry Potter collection. And so I played years 1 to 4. And I didn't mind it. It was quite a good game. I usually like the Lego games. My biggest gripe with this game was a little bit of the platforming at times. There's no voice acting. It sometimes was a little bit boring level design at times. It was nice to explore Hogwarts and the grounds and these different iconic locations in the Harry Potter universe, but I found that you revisited them a lot, with minimal changes at best, and I don't know. Sometimes I felt that was a little bit boring in that respect, but other than that, though, it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. If you like Harry Potter, you'll like these games. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and glad that I was able to play them and get that one off my list. Another game that I absolutely loved, and this is a series that, as I said many times before, I remember all those time years ago at Pizza Hut, seeing this in a magazine, thinking it was going to be so awesome, and never getting an opportunity to play it until I was an adult. I think last year when I got the first game off the list, and so I went off to get this one out of the way, because it definitely explains the backstory of a lot of the characters in the first entry into the series, and that is Yakuza 0. This game is like, I have a stupid smile on my face because it was really fun. This is a great game. Absolutely love it. Cannot speak highly enough about it. The combat, the fluidity of the combat, everything that I love about the first Yakuza was here, and it was another notch. The characters are lovable. The brawling is second to none. The attacks, the specials, all of that stuff, second to none. I absolutely and thoroughly enjoyed this game. I enjoyed beating the crap out of these guys here, the bosses on the front here, the main Yakuzas. I loved them. Absolutely loved it. It was a spectacular game. And to get the backstory of these characters, these wacky characters that you met in the first Yakuza Kiwami, it was such a special thing to see here. I loved every mechanic, from building up various districts and businesses, and I really sunk myself into some of that stuff. That was really fun. And like, this for me was a 60-hour game, and that's what they approximately said, 50 to 60 hours, and I definitely got my money's worth. Loved it, played it to death. This is a fantastic game. I recommend this to anybody, or this series to anybody, to try and get into. It's a fantastic one. And the last game that I beat relatively recently, and this is a game that I have been started many times during the course of my gaming career, if you want to call it that. And it started all the way back watching my friend play it on his PlayStation back when I was a kid, and then trying it myself when I got a PS2 years later, and then when it came out on the PlayStation 4, I played it several times but never beat it. And so it was really nice to finally beat the original Kingdom Hearts. Fantastic game. If you I could see why people might not like it. I know the story gets a little bit crazy on the line. I don't know, I haven't got there yet. But at least in the first game, story's good. I can see why, if you're not a fan of Disney characters, or you're not a fan of some of the RPG mechanics perhaps, or some of the graphics, or some of the hit detection, some of the confusion, certain level designs and getting confused or lost. The one that comes to mind is the jungle level with Tarzan. Yeah, I can, there's definitely some older mechanics here, but in the updated version, the HD 1.5, whatever that one, I think that one is, what is it, Kingdom Hearts, 1.5 HD. Really great game. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I highly recommend you at least try it. If you are a Disney fan, you're a Final Fantasy fan, you like RPGs, I do think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, I just personally enjoyed it. The Gummy Ship, you know, I hear that it's something that's throughout the main series games at least. Well, I could take it or leave it. It was alright. Yeah, I guess it gives you something to do in between loading different worlds, but hey, that was that. But overall, some pretty good stuff. Some of the bosses were kind of cheesy. That frustrating. One that comes to mind for me was Ursula in Atlantica. That was a really tough battle. Again, I think it's just the mechanics and some of the motion. And then, of course, when you're at the, what is it, World's End or the final level or whatever it is, that was really, really, really tough. I almost, at one point, almost broke my controller. But it was good. It was really good game. I enjoyed it and really felt good having finished it. So that's definitely a game, if you have the opportunity, definitely play it somewhere, whether it's on the PlayStation, the original hardware on the PlayStation 2, or, you know, PC. I'm sure it's on the PC as well. So with that, guys, those were the games that I was able to complete, and that's my list of 13. You know, the games that I did not get around to this year are on my list for 2023 because I do want to play them, and there's some really awesome titles in there that I wanted to get to. And so with that, guys, thank you for watching. And what games did you play in 2022? Let me know in the comments down below. You know, please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that. And with all that, guys, take care, and bye-bye for now.